The air you're breathing right now, savor it. Because with every passing second, we're inching closer to a world where oxygen, the very essence of life, becomes as precious as gold. By the year 2050, just a few decades from now, we could be facing an unprecedented crisis. A world where the air we breathe simply isn't enough anymore. This isn't science fiction. This is the stark reality we're hurtling towards. And today, we're going to uncover the shocking truth about why our planet's oxygen is disappearing and what it means for humanity's future. Let's break down the science behind this impending catastrophe. Our planet's oxygen comes from two primary sources, forests and oceans. These are Earth's lungs, constantly recycling CO2 into breathable oxygen. But we're destroying these vital organs at an alarming rate. Every second, an area of forest the size of a football field is destroyed. That's over 18 million acres per year. Each tree cut down is like ripping out an air filter from our global life support system. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the Earth, is being decimated at an unprecedented rate. In 2019 alone, we lost over 9,700 square kilometers of this crucial ecosystem. That's an area larger than Cyprus, gone in just 1 year, but it gets worse. The tiny organisms in our oceans, phytoplankton, produce a staggering 50 to 80% of Earth's oxygen, and they're dying off at a rate that should terrify us all. As our oceans absorb more CO2, they become more acidic. This acid is like poison to phytoplankton. Studies show we've already lost 40% of these microscopic life-givers since 1950. By 2050, we could lose up to 90% of them. So what does this mean for us? As oxygen levels drop, the air will literally become thinner, breathing will become harder, our bodies will have to work overtime just to get the oxygen we need to survive. Imagine every breath feeling like you're at the top of Mount Everest. That's the future we're facing if we don't act now. We're already seeing the effects. Dead zones in our oceans, areas so low in oxygen that marine life suffocates, have quadrupled since the 1950s. These zones are expanding, creeping towards our shores. The Gulf of Mexico now hosts a dead zone larger than the state of New Jersey. And it's not alone. There are over 400 dead zones worldwide, covering a total area of more than 245,000 square kilometers. By 2050, our cities might look very different. Massive air purifiers could dot the landscape, desperately trying to scrub what little oxygen remains from our polluted skies. The wealthy might retreat to oxygen-rich biodomes, leaving the rest of humanity to gasp in the toxic air outside. It sounds like science fiction, but it's closer to reality than you might think. In heavily polluted cities like Beijing, air purifiers are already a common sight in homes and offices. Imagine that, scaled up to entire city blocks with people unable to step outside without an oxygen mask. Hospitals could be overwhelmed with cases of respiratory distress. Conditions like asthma and COPD will skyrocket. The simple act of breathing could become a daily struggle for millions. We're already seeing a preview of this dystopian future. How did we let it get this far? It's a perfect storm of human activity. Deforestation. We're cutting down our oxygen producers at an unprecedented rate. Every year we lose 18.7 million acres of forests. That's equivalent to 27 soccer fields every minute. Ocean pollution. Our plastic waste and chemical runoff are choking the life out of our seas. By 2050, there could be more plastic than fish in our oceans by weight. Fossil fuel burning. We're pumping CO2 into the atmosphere faster than the planet can process it. In 2019 alone, we released 36.44 billion metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. Overfishing. We're disrupting delicate marine ecosystems that help produce oxygen. 90% of the world's fish stocks are now fully exploited or overfished. Urban sprawl. We're paving over green spaces that once helped clean our air. By 2050, 68% of the world's population is expected to live in urban areas. The clock is ticking. With each passing day, we're moving closer to this oxygen-starved future. But is all hope lost? There might still be time to change course. Massive reforestation efforts could help replenish our oxygen supply. Some countries are already leading the way. Ethiopia planted 350 million trees in a single day. Imagine if the whole world followed suit. If we could replant just half of the forests we've lost, we could sequester 205 gigatons of carbon, equivalent to 25% of the carbon in the atmosphere. Innovative technologies are being developed to clean our oceans and reduce acidification. But will it be enough? And more importantly, will we implement these solutions in time? Projects like the Ocean Cleanup aim to remove 90% of ocean plastic by 2040. But we need to scale up these efforts dramatically and tackle the root cause of pollution. Transitioning to renewable energy could slow the rate of oxygen depletion. Every solar panel and wind turbine installed is a step towards giving our planet's lungs a chance to heal. The good news is that renewable energy is becoming increasingly affordable. The cost of solar power has dropped by 89% since 2010, but we need to accelerate this transition at a pace never seen before in human history. But the most powerful solution might also be the simplest. Each one of us has the power to make a difference. Plant a tree, reduce your carbon footprint, support organizations working to protect our forests and oceans. It might seem small, but if every person on Earth planted just one tree, we'd have 7.8 billion new oxygen producers. The future isn't set in stone. The world of 2050 could be a breathless nightmare, or it could be a turning point where humanity finally learns to live in harmony with nature. The choices we make in the next few years will determine which path we take. Consider this. If we continue on our current trajectory, by 2050 we could see average global temperatures rise by up to 3 degrees Celsius. This would lead to catastrophic changes in our climate, accelerating the loss of oxygen-producing ecosystems. Sea levels could rise by up to 30 centimeters, flooding coastal areas and destroying crucial mangrove forests that produce oxygen and protect our shorelines. But if we act now, we could limit that temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This seemingly small difference could be the key to our survival. It could mean the difference between a world where we gasp for air and one where we breathe easy. The air our children and grandchildren breathe is in our hands. Every breath you take from this moment on is a reminder of what's at stake. The oxygen molecules entering your lungs right now are the result of billions of years of Earth's evolution, and in just a few short decades we've brought this delicate system to the brink of collapse. So what will you do? Will you sit back and watch as our world gasps its last breaths? Or will you join the fight for every molecule of oxygen? Will you be part of the generation that let the Earth's air slip away, or the one that took a stand and said, "Not on our watch"? The choice is yours. But remember, we're all in this together, because in the end, we all breathe the same air, and we're running out of time to save it. Together, we can make a difference. Let's act now for a breath of fresh air.